You're now listening to Off the Collar.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Off the Collar. It's your host, Nick Johnson. Finally, after, I'm not even going to mention it because I've mentioned it too many times, but Shelby's back. Shelby Brockmuller.
Hi.
Welcome
How
back
are
to
you?
whatever the hell this is. I'm what's like the opposite of Cloud9? Like Ground Zero?
Yeah, I think that's a great flop of that.
That worked pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that was good.
I just thought of that. Although Ground Zero makes it feel like there's some optimism. I don't know. No, I'm I'm good, I think. Packing my life up a little bit, and thankfully there's like, are you a tennis fan at all? I don't remember if we talked about this.
A little bit. I used to play when I was a kid.
Okay, I did too. The U.S. Open just started like a couple days ago, and I didn't realize, maybe I just don't watch enough tennis, but I didn't realize it's on like all day long.
Oh yeah,
like, it is literally just like matches on match, especially the first couple of rounds.
Yeah.
I was literally watching right before we got on this. I don't mind watching it. It makes me feel like I should try playing again, or at least.
Yeah. Did you see that stuff with I think her name's Coco? Yeah. How she was like yelling at the ref because she was basically not doing her job.
Yeah. No, I was watching that pretty intently, and I was trying to get my teammates to get in on it because it was pretty comical. Like, even to a point where like even the announcers probably should have stopped talking about it. But basically, like, her opponent, who, even if I saw her name, I probably couldn't pronounce it right. Like, all these women tennis players have the craziest names. But she was just taking so much time. She would always be like over the time limit for the serve. I think it's like 25 seconds or something. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter. But like, she was just so slow, and the ref would not do anything about it. So I think Coco Gauff just decided to start playing faster.
Which good for her to like expose her like that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Like, what's funny too is like, I stopped watching it, and then I think I flipped to baseball or something and switched back. And the girl she was playing had switched outfits. I had to rewind it to be like, am I losing my shit, or is she like totally in a different outfit? So
what?
This is just like, she had clearly changed at like the turnover or something. I was just like, girl, this is way too much. And she was getting her ass kicked for the most part of the match too. I don't know. It's
interesting.
Did you see like the interview with whatever her name is afterwards?
No, I didn't. I'm sure it was like a good one.
She was like crying.
Oh my gosh, of course she was.
She saying like, I'm not a bad person, like blah blah blah. I was like, just go watch the tape. You were taking so long. It's, it's like if you and I went to play golf, like,
that's like admitting guilt though. Because she is crying on national television. That's like admitting your guilt that you know you were wrong.
Yeah. And well, she was like blaming the crowd for getting on the American side. I'm like, well, you're going to get that. You're at the US.
Anyways,
You're going to, that's going to happen. But you're not helping yourself by taking like 20 seconds. Plus, she was doing it when it's not her serve too. Like, if it's your serve, you probably can,
take a little bit longer.
Yeah, you can feel it out. Maybe it's a strategy. I don't know. At a certain point, I thought it was a strategy for her, but it was very clear she was just like not paying attention. There's even a point where like she's sitting down at the changeover, and you're not allowed to sit down.
Yeah. No, you're not allowed to sit down.
Yeah, it's like, well,
And the ref didn't even say anything to her, and that's when Coco had to say something to the ref.
Yeah. Where's this ref? Like, I feel like these tournaments do a good job of figuring out who's going to referee these events. Like, for like World Series or whatever, they get the cream of the crop for those. Or I don't know. It's a tough job being a ref, especially with all like the technology now. But I mean, when the crowd was reacting to the whole situation more so than the ref was, I'm like, listen to the crowd. You can't just because you're like trying to make sure you're not wrong. You could clearly see she's like, and I think it was like 5 minutes later, she gave the player like a penalty for being slow. Anyway.
Yeah. Wow.
Sports. I don't know. It's been a weird week.
Yeah. It's been a weird like few weeks, to be honest. Yeah. Can't say you're wrong.
Have you been playing like at all?
Barely. I actually had a backswing event 5 days ago in Pennsylvania, and that was fun. I enjoyed that. Yeah, it was like
some reps in.
Yeah, a little bit. It was so nice though, like the weather. Oh my god. Going back to 66 degrees, I was like, I'm a little chilly. Like I put a jacket on and everybody's looking at me like, what are you doing? It's like, this is cold to me. I just came from 105 degrees. And they're like, okay, we understand.
Thing, like something I'm not used to. I mean, I'm a San Diego boy, so like this weather, I don't know. I went and hit balls this morning and it was like 89, and I think I've determined that whether it's 105 or 90, it doesn't feel any different to me. It's just hot. Like I'm just dying either way. It's not like that difference makes me feel any better. But I was when I started, so I'm moving back to SoCal here in a couple weeks, and the first thing I packed were like all my winter clothes, like my jackets, my pants.
Yeah.
Like it's literally just shorts and t-shirts and maybe some golf shirts now. Everything else is in boxes. Like I was like, I don't need these for a while. So I definitely get you there. Like I am definitely, maybe just because of COVID, but joggers like all day long for me.
I love joggers.
They're shout out to Viore. This episode's definitely not sponsored by Viore, but it might as well be. Speaking of like signature looks, I think this shirt of yours is now turned into.
I know. I forgot that I wore this in like one of the other episodes that I had recently.
What is the
recorded.
brand? Because I saw.
I don't know. Like the back is the same. It's like the skull and whatnot. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't remember what the brand is, but I love it.
Okay. Well, I'm all about it. I actually started using the Shaka like emoji more than I use a thumbs up.
I use it all the time.
I think it makes me happier. I hope
it's your Cali vibes.
It's probably something like that.
Yeah.
Apparently I have a look that the guest we had on last week let me know. Apparently I always wear a backwards hat and sunglasses. So that tells me is that people are, seeing all the work
they notice things
for consistency. Gotta keep up with. This is some insider baseball. Every episode we've recorded has all been in one day. I just changed my shirt.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely not possible. Definitely not possible. But you missed a good episode this last week. It was some chaos. I tried to get some of the guys on from the golf team a couple weeks ago, but it just wasn't. Just coordinating wasn't working out. I was traveling, like it just didn't pan out. So I got one guy to sit down for an hour, Jeremy Sanders, who I went to college with.
Very nice.
Yeah, so he's one of my best friends for sure. We've known each other since we were 18. And yeah, it was a good little episode. He might have a little bit of a future. Like after we did the episode, I was like, he's actually kind of well spoken. Like, where did this come from? He must be doing presentations at work or something. Where is this coming from? But he was a great guest. Is that your dog?
Yeah,
in the background?
He is. She's seeing the people outside. Not a fan.
Not a fan.
Not a fan, apparently.
Maybe we should take notes from your dog and just start growling at people when
I know.
they're outside.
I know. They always come to my door and they hear her and they're like, "Never mind, I'm good." I'm like, "Sorry."
I feel like your dog's not very aggressive though.
She's not. She looks like her bark is loud, but she looks like a teddy bear. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, she's so cute." I'm like, "Yeah, she's mean though." I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I've been around a couple dogs recently.
Oh.
And they're a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, I love dogs, but maybe just these two in particular are a lot of work. They're just always excited. At least they don't I've had dogs in the past that like pee on you when they get excited.
Oh yeah, no. I could not handle that at all.
No. I had a girlfriend in high school who had two little wiener dogs, and they would just destroy me every time I see them. Just like, I gotta pick you up, put you outside, like immediately. Yeah. I think my first purchase once I get back to Cali is gonna be a dog of some kind. What are words today?
What are words?
I keep having this thing that happens where I say a word too many times and it just turns into a sound. It just doesn't. I don't know why it just keeps happening.
This week I've tried to form sentences and it sounds like I'm having a stroke. So I don't know what's going on. I have no idea.
I saw something the other day. It was like a meme or whatever on Instagram, and this reporter. Oh man, she probably had a stroke. It was just not. She had 3 sentences, you could even call that.
Yeah.
In a row, and he had no idea what she was saying. I was like, if I was the cameraman, I'm like, shut this off now. We gotta.
I'd be like, all right.
She could have been speaking another language for all I know.
Gosh.
So anyway, yeah, this was I've been. Do you know who Mark Norman is? He's a stand-up comedian. He has a special on Netflix. I started listening to his podcast, and he always says, comedy. When he has this whole candor about him. I can't. It's almost like an old. Yeah, he's hilarious. But now every time I can't get that comedy thing out of my head. It's every time I think of it. Hey, how are you doing today? Anyways, so yes, this was a good episode. You missed out on getting some dirt about
I know.
me, but
guess we'll just have to listen.
We're gonna have to do it with everyone else because I think he was being nice since he was the only one on there. But if you have more people, and
we'll have to bring him back.
Trying to poke the bear. Yeah, we'll have to have everyone join. But for the listeners, this is part 2 of the episode with Jeremy Sanders. Let's swipe to the rest of the video. I think you bring up something that actually came up today. I think it was Rory's press conference before the Tour Championship, and he was asked about Scotty Scheffler's season, and it's pretty well documented that he's just hasn't been able to putt very well, but he's on the leaderboard every single week. He's had statistically apparently one of the best ball striking years compared to Tiger's 2000 year, which is the peak. But I think and I was watching the coverage last week a little bit. I think if you watch him and some of those guys out there that are really successful, I mean, really just anyone that's qualified for the Ryder Cup already are great examples of guys like this, but they're able to they almost have 2 separate personalities, or maybe not 2 separate personalities, but something switches from there's a practice Scotty and a play Scotty, right? When he goes out and plays, he's having such a good time. He was smiling all down the stretch on Sunday. He granted got beat by Victor Hovland, who shot 61, but if you watch him on hole 14, 15, 16, he's still smiling, having a good time. And he has one of I'm honestly shocked that he hasn't like blown an ACL yet, because his feet are like moving around the entire time he's swinging. Like it's totally homegrown. But I think that just speaks to like how much he's able to just make it happen and be athletic while he's out there. Like Butch would be so happy that I just said the word athletic. But like that was literally what he would tell us all the time, right? And we look at him like, what are you talking about? But it is a thing where maybe some golfers out there could understand, like when you're out practicing, yeah, you want to get your swing to be exactly where you want it to be. You want all these things to be perfect. But when you go play, you need to realize that it's not the same thing. You need to just roll with the punches, right? You need to be able to be more. I think the word that Rory used was like how reactionary that Scotty Scheffler is being when you see him play. Like he's shaping the ball every which way. Like he's making it work. He's worrying about the fine little factors after the round, right? When he's going out and playing, like you can see he's very light, and you could we were talking. um, Maybe this could be something we show at some point when our group chat gets a little bit more PG rated, but we were talking about Lucas Glover, right? Who has one of the best swings probably in the last 20, 30 years. Like I love watching him swing, but
Yeah,
couldn't be less reactionary with his putter, right? And now he's found like lightning in a bottle going to a broomstick, which is pretty remarkable. But you can see it when he like steps into it. He like moves his hand in a certain way. He's got like a flow like he does with his, even though it maybe looks a little stationary to some people, but if you look at his mannerisms, it's kind of similar to how he is with his full swing. Like it's very just natural, right? I think he's got, that's why he's kind of dove into this weird different style, because it did look like he was a little rigid before, right? um, Anyway,
how
going
could
on
you
a
not
bit of
be
a
rigid?
tangent there, but
Yeah, no, I love Lucas Glover. Always been a huge fan of his, and it was, I mean, it was brutal to watch him play. And I mean, I was on TV on Golf Channel when he missed a putt at sectional qualifying to get, I think it was in a playoff with the broomstick putter. He completely yipped it, and
yep.
I mean, it was like a 3-footer for par to extend the playoff, and I mean, it was brutal to watch. But I think, yeah, like you're saying, he's found a way to just, I mean, he just gets up and hits it. You know, he kind of doesn't let himself get in the way, because if you've had issues like that, I mean, I've struggled with chipping issues similar to what Lucas Glover deals with in the putter. But yeah, I mean, there's so many thoughts running through your head, you don't even know what you're doing anymore. You know, like it's a weird feeling. So to just be able to get up there and be like, I mean, I'm starting to kind of get over these chipping problems that I've had, and it's really that. It's just like focusing on, dude. Well, no, it's always been the weakest part of me by far, and it's gotten worse and worse over the years. But it's starting to turn a corner, which has been pretty awesome to see. But yeah, it's just really focused. You know, all the cliches, they're all right, even though they're cliche.
They are right. They are all right. It's so unfortunate that they're cliches, because I feel like they get lost in the fray because so many people say the same thing. But it's something I say all the time, and you guys are probably tired of me saying it. I don't know if I said it to you guys enough, but I've definitely said it enough where I'm tired of me saying it. Like golf is 4.5 hours, 5 hours, right? Out of that 4.5 hours, you're really only playing golf for like 45 minutes. Like physically hitting a ball, it's only actually 45 minutes. So that's a lot of time to be able to like think about things where, like, I think you grew up playing other sports. I grew up playing, like, soccer is a great example. You don't have enough time to think about anything else, right? It's like you have to be reactionary 150% of the time, where I hit one shot, I have 5 to 10 minutes until I hit my next shot. Like there's a lot of stuff I could tell myself in that 5 to 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It's it's a lot of it's a skill to be able to. I don't know if you necessarily need to turn your brain off, but I think you have to realize where it's going in certain like circumstances. Um, like I think Matt Kuchar said it that the best golf he plays is when he's not thinking at all. I don't know how you can be thinking like with like not think about anything. And we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. This episode is brought to you by Riverside.fm. If you guys are wondering how I put together these podcasts on a weekly basis, it's all with the software I use behind the scenes. Started using Riverside.fm pretty much immediately, and the main reason I use them is it is so convenient for all of my guests. I can send them individual links, basically just joining in like it was a Zoom call. It's very convenient for everyone involved and makes editing a breeze with all different sorts of AI and different capabilities that Riverside brings to the table. If you guys want to start your own podcast, go to my link in bio and put in the code OTC15. Just like off the collar, OTC15 for 15% off. Really do give this thing a try. It gave me everything I needed and more, makes my life so much easier when it comes to distributing and editing all these different episodes I do. Riverside.fm. Like I've definitely had rounds where I've, been less analytical. That's for sure. But I don't know. I think I'd need to like this might be a conversation about how good a caddy might be in a certain situation. Like if you're able to have a flow with the caddy, and I've had this in the past where you trust them 150% and they know your game, and they're just like hit it here, hit this or hit this number, then I could maybe see that working. That's kind of like Brooks Koepka golf almost, right? It's just like he
And
doesn't have a
DJ.
yardage book. He just like tell me how far to hit it, and DJ.
Yeah. Yeah, DJ.
And
I've
DJ,
heard
yeah.
stories. There's a story about DJ where
yeah, we've had
So we've known people. Being in golf for as long as we have, you end up, it's a small world, and people end up being caddies on the PGA Tour or playing on the PGA Tour. But like you somehow hear all these stories from people who've seen things and been there, either playing or caddying. And so one great story though about DJ was he's on this par 5, and he's kind of in between clubs, and the conversation between him and AJ was a 3-wood's going to go a little too far, but 2-iron's going to be short, so I guess I'll just hit the 3-wood and just cut it off a little bit. But like no talk about numbers, just like 3-wood's a little too much, but 2-iron won't get there. So that's just how some of those guys are able to play, just purely off of feel. It's pretty real.
Yeah.
But yeah, DJ,
I think
Brooks,
that's something I've
they can turn their
found in. Right. Yeah, I think it's something I found in a couple of the episodes I've done on the podcast is how some people are just able to like just hit a shot without even really thinking about anything. Maybe that's something I need to work on, is I'm a little too analytical, but I don't know. It's like if I need to hit the ball low, I know what I need to do. Like I have a thought of what to do. If I need to hit the ball high, I have a thought of what I need to do. I don't just like do it. I don't know. Maybe that's something I need to look into. Well, I think we have a few minutes here. We should probably give our listeners what they've been looking for, and give us maybe a couple war stories from back in the day. Some college stories. You're looking at me like I don't want to talk about that. I think we gotta give them one or two. I'll let you start. Is like go into a embarrassing story that comes to mind when you think about me in college.
Well, I don't. God, it's really Gomberg and Bobby who I feel like are the ones who remember. They have the great memories and remember all these crazy stories. But the one thing, I mean, the thing that sticks out the most about you, Nick, was in college, and that doesn't surprise me at all, to see where you where you are now. But like, you were always the guy who had the connections with everyone. I mean, like, I don't know how you did it, but whenever we wanted to like, get people together, you were the guy who's just like, okay, yeah, I'll call some people. I'm like, who are you gonna call, dude? This is like the 2 months into school. Like, how many people's numbers do you have already? He's like, oh yeah, I know a few girls from my class's number, and yeah, I'll call them up and they'll see if they want to come over. I'm like, holy shit. So you were always really good at. You were always the guy who got people together. It was crazy. I don't know how you did it, but
Yeah,
and then we
I
made
think
it work.
I think back in the day we would just call it like I didn't have any shame, and maybe that's just stuck with me to this day. Is like
Yeah,
I think something that was instilled from um, just maybe growing up, like life is pretty short, and I think that's something I've always tried to keep in mind. Is like, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all people trying to do the best we can. Um, but I definitely, yeah, I was definitely an instigator. I didn't realize it at the time until I think you brought it up to me like a couple months ago, maybe. We were just kind of talking about the podcast or something. And I guess I am. I try not to be, but it just kind of happens. I I don't know. I just like getting people together. I think is the moral of the story. Is like I'm always just trying to make memories with people and um, trying to do something as a group. Um, I guess
yeah,
this could be one of the stories. Is like us getting in trouble like the first week of every year
yeah,
in college, like literally like getting written up the first week we were back at school.
yeah. Our
So
sophomore year.
what time
Yeah,
of the
I'll let you tell
year?
the story.
Sophomore year was, yeah, sophomore year was the worst probably. So I think it was that. No, it was the year after. But um, so basically, at the beginning of every year, we would go to Home Depot. Was it Home Depot? Yeah, it was Home Depot, right? And we'd pick
Yeah,
up a slab of wood, um, just plywood, and it would be like our beer pong board game board for the year. And anytime someone would win a game, they'd sign their name on the board, and it's kind of like a commemorative thing. I don't know where I saw it. I saw it on YouTube or Snapchat, something. I don't know, but it was kind of fun, and it would be something for everyone to do, and we take a picture with it at the end of the year. I don't know where those pictures went, but either way,
me either.
we would go to Home Depot, and then for some reason, maybe this is kind of going back into me being like the connection guy or the instigator guy, but at the time we had a teammate whose mom was running housing, right? And I connected with her, and she got me into like the biggest dorms on campus, so I wouldn't have to stay like in. I don't know how you did it in those freshman dorms, but I never stayed in like the small freshman dorm. Like I was in one of the bigger ones to start, Anderson, which just got
Yeah.
renovated. Which is did you see what I sent when I sent that post over? Like it's totally different than it used
No,
to be.
I didn't see it.
And then and then Courtner was the year or sophomore year. So maybe it was just because I had one of the bigger places, but it would always be my place to we would go as like a pregame, right, to go play beer pong or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, and it might have been just because I had at the time one of the most legendary roommates ever. I really hope he listens to this episode. The Hammer,
yeah.
Brian
The
Hamada.
Hammer. I yeah, legend. I mean, and he was a
I
legend.
don't know.
I mean,
I
I
lost
didn't
contact.
realize
I
his
lost
name was
contact with
Brian
him.
until yeah, the Hammer.
So this is kind of a side story, but I basically just got paired up with this random guy as a roommate, Brian Hamada, and lack of a better term, he was a pretty like timid Asian kid, right? Like a pretty nerdy little Asian kid, but he was one of the sweetest guys in the world. Um, would keep to himself, like a perfect roommate. I would come back from class and he had like already finished like levels of a video game, so I wouldn't have to go through it. Like Guitar Hero was one, like Call of Duty,
Got
like
it.
any
Started
game we
playing
were
C.
playing at that time. And he was a
Yeah.
graphic designer, so yeah, and he had all this downtime. Um, and I don't know if any of your listeners are, familiar with the Hammer driver, but it was a infomercial that came out like probably 15, 20 years ago now, where the guy's just like yelling like, like he's a
Hitting it
long drive guy.
350, like
I
when
don't know. We
350
were
was
kind of
actually
obsessed
pretty
with
far.
it, but right. And there was a anecdote or like a testimonial from somebody in it, like if he could just like 4-putt, he would be on tour.
Yeah, if he could
Which is
three-putt
just the
every
most
hole,
random
he would
thing.
be he would
Anyone
make $1
could,
million on tour. It's crazy.
yeah, yeah. It was ridiculous. But anyway, so Brian's last name was Hamada, Hammer. We somehow it just kind of evolved and we started calling him the Hammer. And this is not really important to the story, but the guy is such a legend that I think I have to mention it. We would play beer pong, and he would attempt different ways to like aerodynamically make the shot. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, the spin.
Yeah. Okay.
Fucking.
So he would like spin it. He'd do a spin, and there's definitely no science behind it, but he was convinced that it would like go in more if he spun it, like it would go off the rim and go in. So we're partying and having a good time, and I remember this is like the first week of school, and I have all the new kids over, like all the new freshmen on the golf team. Entire golf team's over. We're having a good time, and I go over to you. We're like sitting on my bed, and I go, "Dude, this girl across the hall is amazing. Like, I need to figure out what her story is." And in your drunken stupor, you like swing open the door, and I think her name was Talia, and you just yell like Talia into the hallway. And as soon as you do that, two like RAs or TAs or whatever you call them are walking right by while we have like just alcohol everywhere. Like I think I was making margaritas for people. Like there's 40s, like, and for some context on like the area, it's like there's a joining bathroom between like the two dorms. Like it was, they call it like suite style, something like that.
Yeah.
But we maybe had what 30 people between both rooms, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to finish the story, or should I?
Well, yeah, I could wrap it up. So basically,
so they get.
Yeah, I can finish it up if you want. But basically, what happened was the RAs came in, and they were not happy to see freshmen there with open alcohol containers, and they made us pour it all out. And I remember turning to the girl RA and being like, kids will be kids. And it sticks with me what she said. She's like, "You guys aren't kids anymore. You got to grow up." I'm like, we're 18, 19 years old. I mean, I guess at the time I'm like, yeah, we're still kids. Like, it was weird. I was like, holy shit, you really think we're adults already? But yeah, so we got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
We had to pour out alcohol into the toilet. We were gonna get written up, which meant that I don't know if this was true, but that our parents were gonna get a letter saying that we were, we violated some rules within the dormitory.
My parents got called.
So they were going to get a call or letter or something. So like you said, Nick, we had freshmen on the team. in the dorm room, brand new. I mean, literally 2 weeks into school or less, and I was freaking out because I'm like, God,
Fresh off the boat.
I'm the reason that ever got in trouble. These kids are gonna get a call back to their parent. They're gonna have to explain that Jeremy was the reason they got in trouble. I'm gonna have to tell Butch, our coach. We had a really tight team, and our coach was we were really close with our coach. So I'm like, God, I gotta tell him before he hears about this through the grapevine, because he heard everything. I mean, nothing got by Butch, even though he might not have.
He would find out. He would find out. I felt the same. I felt the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we both felt that. But so, we ended up needing to call Butch and tell him what happened. And so I remember calling him up, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to explain this to him. So I tell him, like, hey, Butch, we were in the dorms, and we were drinking, and, we were being loud, and the RAs came in, and they, the freshmen were with us, and we all got in trouble and written up for, drinking and breaking the rules in the underclassmen dorms. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me. He was so pissed. He's like, you got to be kidding me. They'll cut your dick off for drinking alcohol, but they'll let you do any drug you want in those dorm rooms. He was more for the school than he was at us. Because he was very against drugs, and he knew that we were kids and we were going to be drinking. And so he was just, I was like, oh my God, Butch. I my heart just like, I got such a sense of relief after having to react like that. But yeah, he was he just made sure that we were responsible, safe, and he wanted us to have a good time. He knew that we were in college, and this is like the time to have fun. And so we ended up with that one.
I think we were pretty good. I think we were pretty good.
Yeah,
like we could have definitely been worse. I think we were pretty responsible. I'll close out this episode with this story about Butch in the same building that we got written up in, because it is legendary. And Jeremy, jump in whenever you want, because this is one of the craziest stories.
I already know what story you're going to tell.
Yeah. Okay, so this building that we were partying in is called Kortner. It's one of the dorm rooms, and our coach Butch went to the same school as us, so he was on the football team. Like, he's a big deal at that time. Was in Pi Chi. Is that the frat? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. Was it Pi Chi? Okay, so he has some legendary stories. Like, I'm talking, and this is back in like what, the 60s. Like, this is when. This is before you even considered things were PG or not. So, like, we should probably tell these stories when the boys are on, because they might have their own iteration, because I think we might all know the outline of stories, but we all know them a little bit differently. Like, there's one where I think it was homecoming. He was trying to get people to come to Pi Chi for a party, so he lit a tree on fire, like a massive ass tree. What's another one? They cut a hole in the side of a building, and I don't know if you guys know this, but a cow can only go upstairs. They can't walk downstairs. There's something in their makeup that they just can't do it. So Butch, I don't know if he cut a hole. No. So he got it to go up the stairs, right? In one of the school buildings, like the English building, but they can't go downstairs. So for them to get the cow out, they had to cut a hole in the building. Mind blowing. You think those are crazy? Like, this that isn't even the story I was going to tell. Those are for later. So anyway, we'll go to this, and I might be paraphrasing this story just for the sake of time, but at the time he was, I guess it's called, is it Pledge Master, right? The guy that's like in charge of all the new recruits for the frat. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to recruit, and like he's doing his thing with the new freshmen coming in, and they're all partying in Cortner, and they're on like the third or fourth floor. They're pretty high up, and they're all partying. And Butch goes to one of the guys. He's like, "I'm gonna freak the hell out of these freshmen." And if I recall correctly, he like basically, I don't know if he like pretended to be suicidal, but he was like just tried to act more drunk and just like make a scene. And he's deciding that he's gonna jump out of the window of the hallway, and he tells his buddy that he's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna jump out and like grab onto the tree, and there's bushes down there." Right? And he does all this, jumps out of the tree or jumps out of the window, and the trees and the bushes that he was going to jump into were removed that day. So he just drops 3 stories straight to the concrete. Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah. And he was pretty messed up from that.
Yeah, he break his arm or something.
Yeah. I think an ankle.
Oh my god.
And he was nuts.
He was not in good shape, and he was in the middle of his football season. This is a guy that's, like you said, Jeremy, like a big 300-pound guy. He got drafted by the Raiders in his heyday as an O lineman. Like, this guy could have picked you and I up by each hand, and I think he did to me multiple times. But that's an episode for another day. But we definitely have a ton of stories.
Yeah. Now, since we're reminiscing, I just want to ask you a question about, and I know we talked about this a little bit a while back, but what's your most memorable golf shot? It doesn't have to be from when we were at Redlands, but is there a golf shot that sticks out in your mind, or you're just like, that was, good or bad, preferably good, I guess, but do you have a most memorable golf shot of your entire golfing career?
Yes. Since we're on the topic of college golf, I'll give you a college golf one. So I don't think you were on the team at this point. I think you had already transitioned to Pepperdine, which is a whole nother story. This is kind of, I'll go on a quick tangent, but do you remember the time that we drove to the wrong Pepperdine?
Oh my God, yes. I still tell Brittany that all the time. I've told many people that story. So I transferred to Pepperdine, and the campus is in Malibu. And these guys, I would go visit them every couple of months whenever we had a break between tournaments, and they would do the same. So we'd see like once a month or so. And these guys were coming out for the first time to visit me at Pepperdine. And I first, we were probably a month and a half into school, and they're like, "Yeah, we're getting close, but I don't see the ocean anywhere." I'm like, "Well, if you're close, you can see the ocean." And it turns out Gomberg was driving, and Nick's like, "Dude, we're in Irvine," and I'm like, "Oh my God, you guys are about an hour in the wrong. You're an hour from where you're supposed to be."
That was my fault. Yeah, that was my fault.
Classic.
Well, what algorithm is Google Maps going off of? Because I literally remember just typing in Pepperdine, and that was the first thing it took me to.
Yeah.
It just took me to the extension in
Irvine. I think it's a grad school campus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I signed up when we were there, so it wouldn't be a waste of time. The irony is, once we made it to actual Pepperdine, I met a girl and then ended up dating her for like the next year. So I couldn't get Pepperdine wrong for like the next year straight. But to answer your original question, so I was playing in a tournament in Arizona, and basically for some insider knowledge on how college tournaments go, usually it's 36 holes the first day and then 18 holes the next day. It's usually like a Monday, Tuesday, and then a quick turnaround, go back home or go to the next tournament. So usually how our team worked, we wouldn't really. And Butch, I don't think we had an assistant at the time, so it would just be Butch following us around, and he'd be able to give us advice, but he really wasn't that guy. He was more of a motivator than anything. The
Yeah.
only real advice we might get would be on like the par threes, and depending on where you are in like sequence, he would try to find out what the person hit before you, so you can have an idea of what club to hit, right? So I think we're probably like an hour and a half into the first round, and I hadn't seen Butch all day long, which is totally fine. Like we're big boys. We don't need a coach to be there to coddle us. But usually, he would have food, and he would call himself Coach Circle K because he'd always have snacks on snacks. Like
Oh yeah.
he had one of those. God, I wish we could find. They would be pretty epic to bring on a trip, like a boys' trip. You remember the fanny pack that they would put around the cart, like the massive fucking like.
Cooler.
It's
pack,
literally just a giant fanny pack, and it's
Yeah.
like waterproof, and you throw a ton of ice in it. And he would put like juice snacks, like the gummies, like those were so random at the time, but they would definitely like towards the end of the round would be very key.
Especially on
Anyway,
the 36 hole days. Yeah.
yeah, the 36 hole days. So I remember we're on par three, and I was probably like the first guy, so that's why I hadn't seen him all day. First guy to get to that hole, and I'm playing okay. Like I don't remember playing good or bad, and I remember pulling out like a 5 or 6 iron, and I just cold shanked this shot like into the desert, like the only shot he's seen from me all day, and it is just like a straight hosel rocket, like into the desert. And I just walk away with my tail between my legs, and obviously, like I can't give him any advice because I just shanked the crap out of it. So I find my ball. It's actually like it's Arizona golf, so in the desert, it's kind of like just like a firm fairway bunker. I have 110 yards in, full shot into a par three, hit it to like that, hit it to a foot, and make par. So it's probably not the best shot to like remember. I just remember the whole process because I look back and like put my fist up in the air, and I just remember Butch's like fat fist like right back at me. So it was a fun moment between us. In terms of like best shots, I don't even think it was like tournaments. It was like the thing maybe that sticks out the most was it my were you there my sophomore year, our sophomore year, when I won qualifying by like 10?
Mhm.
Qualifying for nationals. Was that your sophomore year? Were you still at Redlands when I did that? Or was that my junior year?
I don't remember.
I'm going to say it was my sophomore year because I was playing I played against Mike Caston, and Anthony. So it has to be my junior year because I can't imagine Anthony was. Either way,
Yeah.
And I remember that for a different reason because I had a 10-shot lead going into the final round. It was like 2 or 3 rounds of qualifying, and I tee off on the first hole, and the only thing Butch says to me as I'm walking away is, "Don't fuck this up, Szechuan. Don't blow your 10-shot lead
motivator.
with
the great motivator there.
8 shots to go."
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your? We'll wrap this up real quick, and I appreciate the time. But what was your favorite memory, or any type of shot that you've hit? You have a lot more good shots to go off of than I do. So.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, the one thing that always sticks out in my mind of just like the best stretch of golf I've probably ever played, but under the circumstances was my freshman year, and we were going to nationals, and I played well. I don't know. I think I shot like 73 72 or 74 the first round, so not great, but not bad. I think I was shot the lowest of our team, so I was last to tee off on our team. And so the second round, it was the second round of nationals, and there's a cut after 36 holes, and so the rest of the team had finished, but as I was playing, I ended up birdieing the last 4 holes in a row. Don't ask me how that happened, but the one that sticks out in my mind was on the 16th hole is this par 3. You probably remember this hole at the Grand Over. Par 3, it's maybe like 215, 220. That was long for me back then. I mean, that was back before clubs were like the lofts were jacked up like crazy, where now like that's an easy 5-iron. But back then I remember having this blade 3-iron
or an 8-iron or a Gomberg 8-iron.
The Gomberg 8-iron, yeah. But I remember having this 3-iron blow into it was like a middle right pin with a wind blowing out of the left, and all I could hit back then was a draw. So I hit this draw, and it's just flagged. It's just turning right over towards the pin. Goes to like 9-10 feet, and it's this huge breaker. And I end up somehow making the putt, and then hit like 9-iron to 4 feet, and then pitching wedge to 3 feet on the last hole. And we ended up making the cut by 1 or 2. And I'll never forget like making that birdie putt on 18 and turning around and Caston, who's like 6'4", one of the other freshmen on the team who played at nationals, and he's like shaking heart, like I swear to God, it was like King Kong, like beating his chest. He was like shaking the cart. I thought he was gonna tip it, and I'm just like, that's the only thing I remember, turning around and looking at all the team celebrating, but it was just Caston just like try to tip this card over essentially. But that was my most memorable, that 3-iron that I hit. And the putt after that was crazy.
Dude, I remember, like, this is one thing I really wish my freshman year that Butch had allowed me to qualify for nationals, because you might not remember this, but I remember my game was like showing some form towards the end of the season, and I still was pretty I obviously played nationals the next 3 years, so I had something going. But I really wish he would have allowed me to qualify for that last spot at nationals. But I remember I think it was in the library, and I'm looking at golf stat, and you needed to birdie in so we could qualify, to get into the weekend. And I'm watching you make birdie, birdie, birdie. I'm like, holy shit!
That's got to be a golf stat error, right?
You have an innate ability. Yeah, I'm just clicking refresh like as hard as I can, but you have this innate ability to just get on these streaks. Like at the time, I wish we maybe mentioned this earlier in the episode, but at the time, Burgertown was the key to a lot of your success. Like I'm sure you could bring that back in some instance, but for some reason we had a bet when we were in college. If my memory serves correctly, and my memory is pretty darn good most of the time, we had this kind of, I don't even call it tradition, but we'd go to this place in town that was kind of like a Waffle House type of feel, like old schooly, like diner-ish, like breakfast food, like probably a B rating. Like it was not good food at all, but
it was sure had a B rating.
More than nostalgia than anything else, right? And for sure had a B. That's how you know it's good. B for breakfast. But I think I bet you that you couldn't make a putt, and it was like fucking 40 feet. It was a monster, and you just like fucking drained this sucker. And then from then on, you would start saying Burgertown like it was Kobe, and just like it just became a thing, and you started just making putts. Like you have to be. If we put your stats that year from like 60 to 40 feet, you're on tour. Like You can make those putts better than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah, dude, it was Burger
Man,
Town.
we have Burger Town. We
Yeah, it
have
was
so many
the
stories,
last thing.
Jeremy, and I feel like we
Yeah,
could.
we do.
We've only touched the surface so far. I think if we get the other guys in on this and somehow rope Butch to get in on the episode, it might stir up some things that maybe we even forgot.
Oh
But
yeah.
I do want to thank you for your time, and we'll have to do this again soon. We didn't get to roast our teammates as much as I like, so maybe we save that for a Red Wings roundtable of sorts. But for the listeners out there, go check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever the hell else we are that I'm forgetting. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, Jeremy.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick.
This has been Off the Collar.